Hello, welcome everyone to episode 11 of the AI Advantage Show. We're your hosts, Colin Lepiscopo and Kim Reynolds, and we've got an exciting show this morning. Kim, who do we have today?
Well, we have a return guest because everybody loves him so much, including us, and that is Dustin Stout, Dustin W. Stout. And if you don't know Dustin, you're missing out. He's an entrepreneur, a digital marketing consultant, a speaker, social media enthusiast slash guru. He's just really passionate about letting other people get their stories out and helping them get heard. And so he has a blog that's been incredibly successful, but his newest project is what we're most interested in, and that is called Magi. And it's like Chat GPT on steroids, but more than Chat GPT. I could go on and on all about Magi. When Dustin gets here, I'll let him explain a little more about it, but trust me, it's all that I use all day, every day. It's fantastic.
Yeah, pretty exciting. We're also going to talk through some of the latest news from OpenAI's recent conference, and a lot was even revealed in the opening keynote. So we're going to go through kind of a little bit of that stuff today. And then we also wanted to let you know about the Prompt Exchange. So the Prompt Exchange is a place where you can go to get over 2,000 marketing prompts. They're completely free. It is an exchange. So if you have prompts that you've used in your marketing that you know work, you can add those to the database, and then other marketers can use those. Go to the AIpromptexchange.com, join that community, give a prompt, take a prompt, or just take prompt if you need them. A lot of people are takers before they're givers, and that's okay too. We would just that's what they're there for. So we hope that those help give you inspiration, help your marketing campaigns.
Awesome.
Great. So there's a lot to talk through, Kim. Where do you want to start? I mean, we can talk through the store. We can talk through context window. We could talk through all the cool stuff developers get. We could talk through the custom. There's a lot. So where do you want to start?
Well, I think one of the most interesting things that I read was the excitement around the conference and how it had that kind of feel about it. Like when Steve Jobs was announcing the iPhone, it had that same kind of excitement. Yeah. And I wish that I had been there. That would have been really awesome.
Next time. Cool.
Maybe next year.
Yeah,
maybe next year.
Absolutely.
But so much was announced. Gosh, where do we even start? Maybe some of the milestones, ChatGPT milestones.
Sure.
Over 100 million users on a weekly basis, making it one of the most quickly adopted consumer products of all time. Yeah. And but more interesting to me is 2 million developers are using the API to create their own projects and products. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the 2 million developers. So the three big stats, right, were the 2 million developers, the 100 million users, weekly users, by the way.
Weekly.
And then the third stat, which is the one that surprised me, was 92% of Fortune 500 companies are using it.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, and that was on all three of those were on Sam Altman's slide, right? So that's pretty impressive to me. That's something that surprised me, is that, okay, these big companies are using it. So the mid-sized companies, small businesses, it's like, hey, now the big dogs have the edge now too. They already had the edge. Now they've got the AI edge. So it just kind of highlights the importance for medium and small businesses to really start leaning into AI and leveraging it so that they can reduce their output.
Stop the fear. Just dive in.
Yeah. Especially because the companies, they're not scared. They realize the potential. They just dive right in.
And they're using AI differently too. They have a lot of custom solutions, and but the generative AI is available to everyone.
Yeah.
If for free. So why not?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, as you would know, I would love to know Dustin's thoughts on all of this. So why don't we bring him in and welcome him to the show. Dustin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Dustin.
Yeah, absolutely. I live for this stuff.
It's great to have you here. We already gave you a little intro, and really we just started talking through some of the updates that OpenAI has recently come out with. But I know that you've been looking at that, and you've got some other trends and predictions for 2024 that we are eagerly anticipating. So we were kind of just going through the recent updates. But if you got something else you want to focus on, let us know.
Yeah, no, these updates are great. And I love that OpenAI completely validated one of Magi's key features
The
in
context
custom
window, right?
GPTs.
And customize. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, can you explain for our viewers that may not know of Magi? I kind of
Yeah.
I gave a little teaser, but I said that you would
Yeah.
give us a better.
Absolutely. So Magi is essentially the goal of Magi is to be the one AI tool to rule them all. So there's going to be a lot of AI tools coming out, a lot of companies competing to be the best of the best AI model out there. Already we have ChatGPT, obviously. We have Claude by a company called Anthropic. We have Bard by Google. We have Meta creating their own AI assistant. And then we have the image generators, right? We have DALL-E.
They say Meta AI is a new assistant.
Hey, Google.
Interact with like a person. Available.
Hey, Google, stop. Apparently.
We also have Google and Alexa AI, apparently, that
Google is always listening. So we have these image generators, right? DALL-E, Midjourney, we have Stable Diffusion, and then all of the different flavors of Stable Diffusion that are popping up. And Magi's goal is and will continue to be to save you from having to subscribe to them all in order to get the best of the best AI models. Magi is the one AI tool to rule them all, and puts it all in one convenient place, one beautiful interface, one subscription for your entire team. So whether it's just you or you and 5 other team members or you and 100 other team members, we have all kinds of plans to suit your needs. So that's the goal of Magi. And one of our flagship features, and this is why I'm so excited about these OpenAI announcements, one of the most popular things that came out of this dev day was custom GPTs. And what is a custom GPT? Essentially, it is a highly instructed version of ChatGPT that has a very specific set of objectives or behaviors that are built into it. And that's essentially what Magi had from day one, which is
we've been using those for months.
Yeah.
We've been doing this since the beginning.
Yeah.
And now I will say that, personas in Magi have been a huge success for our users who take advantage of them.
Absolutely.
They give extreme, like way better results. And, when you have a clear objective, whether that's, copywriting emails or social media marketing posts, if you have a persona that has been crafted to match that objective, you get significantly better output and way less editing needed. And Kim, you famously have used this to have a brand voice. If you like someone's writing style, you can create a persona that writes in their style.
Yeah, she's got a favorite one. Which one is that?
It might be a Dustin Stout persona. It might be.
It might be. Everyone should have a Dustin Stout
we came full
persona
circle, and she made a persona of you, which is, it's got to be. That's
Yeah.
got to be flattering or a little scary at the same. I don't know. No.
I appreciate it. I'm flattered. Not creepy at all. So what effectively what OpenAI has just done is they've made it easier to create your own custom personas, and they're just calling them something called GPTs. And now there is a next level of sophistication to these that I'm super excited about, because Magi users will soon get this ability inside of Magi to build these same kind of custom GPTs. Now, the things that they have over a traditional persona, a persona is essentially just a set of instructions. But with custom GPTs, you get the ability to use AI to build the optimal persona or to build this custom GPT. So it's sort of helping you in the process of, like, how do I properly instruct this persona or this custom GPT to come up with the best possible set of instructions. Now, on top of that, they're also adding the ability to have code interpreter, which in all layman's terms, it just means you can upload any sort of file, whether that's a text file, a document, a PDF, if it's like a code file, like an HTML file, you can upload these files and the AI can interpret those files and understand them without having to do a whole lot of like complex conversions to one format or another. On top of that, you have OpenAI's function calling, which allows you to add like special abilities to them. And you have the added abilities with the new GPT-4 Turbo, which has an extended context length. So one of the big problems with GPT previously was it could only remember about 6,000 words in a conversation. Now with the 128K token limit, I believe that is 90,000 words.
That's like a
now
novel.
remember. It's
like 300 pages. 300 pages is what they're quoting.
Yeah. I mean, that's like going from it used to be able to remember everything you wrote on a chalkboard. And then if you wrote anything else, it had to erase the chalkboard. Now it's like it can read a whole book and remember the whole book, which that's huge.
Yeah, and that was often, the big differentiator between GPT and Claude was the context. Claude famously 100,000 token limit
or something.
Yeah, Claude had 100,000K token limit, which basically translates to 75,000 words. And now GPT has leapfrogged it, and I have no doubt that is going to cause an even bigger leapfrog from the people over at Anthropic, which again just showcases the value of being able to have all of these AIs in one place to work with them together. So that's super exciting for me.
Not to mention we got Musk doing his own thing too, and I wouldn't count him out.
Grok is in the works. I would love to get my hands on Grok. I've been trying every trick I have in the book to get my hands on Grok.
I can't wait. Well, and Dustin, you went through a lot of things, and I know there's people that are tracking, but I'd like to go through and kind of like break these down, even just talking about the personas and the next level of this, right? So, because what we're talking about is basically if you boot up ChatGPT and log in, you're dealing with this set of instructions that have been kind of like hard coded in on the back end, and you're at the prompt level, and there's just severe limitations. Now you're being generous by saying you can do more. I would say it's actually impossible to do some of the things that you want to be able to do, right? And if it's just I'm trying to train the AI to write like I do, it's just it's not gonna be able to do it, or it might do it in an extremely limited capacity. But with the instructions, you're able to build, and we've done this for brands where we build a whole brand persona that is able to use their brand voice and do it well. And there's a refining process there, but with those instructions, it does very well. So now we're getting the next step of that. Right now, we've been able to do this in Magi already. Now we're going to be able to do this just with ChatGPT, but it sounded like there's a little bit more in the instruction process, or maybe it's a little guided. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So if you've gotten the update inside of ChatGPT and you have the ability to create these custom GPTs, essentially what it gives you is almost like they've almost built a custom persona generator, which is something I was actually working on. So the AI is trained to sort of walk you through the process of customizing a new GPT. It asks you questions about what your goals are, what your tone, what you want the tone to be. And then based on the answers you give it, it actually asks some really good questions about maybe some things you may not have thought of to help you sort of formulate the overall identity of this custom GPT. And so it kind of like as an AI walks you through building these custom instructions and building this custom version of ChatGPT. And so you can do that in ChatGPT now. Some people have gotten that ability already. I've done it a few times. It's fairly easy. And I actually love the process of doing it because it's just a conversation. It's just
so you just get one, right? You can
make as many as you want.
Can you? I don't have that function yet. I don't have that.
Well, we'll have it soon, right?
Imagine they're rolling it out.
Well, I wonder if so I had made a like persona creator, right? So basically, what I did is I made a persona that makes personas, right? And I maybe have kind of organically tried to do this, and it's probably not as good as the guided process. But I basically was like, hey, I would tell the AI, it already knows what its job is and what it wants to do. It's making AI personas. It's making a set of instructions for an AI to behave a certain way. And I would say, hey, what's missing here? What do we need? How do we? And I had one that was like, I was creating like this was like one of my side projects. I was creating like an AI VTuber. So if you know what that is, people who know what VTubers are and streamers, but basically something that can like interact with a stream and like it's kind of sophisticated. It has certain lingo it needs to use. And it was a pretty robust thing. And I just knew that there were going to be gaps that I just hadn't thought of. So I used the AI to kind of guide me through that process and create this I was probably the most robust persona I've ever had to do, including ones for brands are actually a lot simpler. So maybe that was like the kind of organic way to do it. I'm sure their process is much more refined, but I'm not sure if there's a way to do it right now if you don't have that.
It's actually fairly similar. So that's essentially what they did is they created a persona, or they created a GPT that is meant to help you create GPTs. Now, the added bonus, again, with this new upgraded model is higher context length, but also it now has document retrieval. So you can actually upload documents and PDFs to be part of its long-lasting memory. And so unlike before, where we're sort of just limited to the text description, now when you upload a file to this custom GPT, that file stays in its almost like a mini database for it. They can then retrieve that information. So it makes it exceptionally good if you're creating GPTs or personas based on, say, product information or documentation, or very clear, information stores, single source of truth, so to speak. You can have multiple files that it can pull from.
What I think is huge for that is some of the tools out there, like the custom GPT bots, right? That brands will use, the ones they'll use that, like, hey, they're able to close sales and things like that, especially huge for e-commerce. It'll increase, sales rates by like 400%. Well, now you can add all that, because it used to just scrape the site. Well, now you can add all this additional documentation as well. Maybe it's stuff that it wasn't on your site, but it's important information that the AI could use. Now you can upload those documents directly. And then also now, because this was something we could do in Magi, but you could drop links and it would be able to look up the link. But now I think they can browse, right? Which is something that Bard was able to do.
Yeah. So ChatGPT now has web browsing again. Now, the trouble with this, and the problem I continually have with this, and the reason I don't recommend it, is because the way that web browsing works in these AI models is, so in many of my use cases, I have a specific web page that I want it to pull information from. And that's how Magi is built. It sees the URL, it goes to that URL, pulls the information from that exact page. With web browsing, essentially it's performing a search. It's saying, here's a URL, and we're going to do a wide Google search, maybe not Google, but they're doing a web search for that URL, and whatever those results are, it's going to pull from those results and sort of summarize the results and do things with the information that it gets from those results. So you're sort of abstracting, if in the scenario you have a specific URL that you want it to follow, you're abstracting and sort of it can be a toss-up of, is it going to get the right information, or is it going to kind of get some conglomerate of information that it found from multiple search results of this URL. So you're not guaranteed to get the precision of giving it a direct URL and having it use that one and only URL.
Even if you give it a command, even if you say only visit this URL, you can't circumvent it.
Because it's not acting as a web crawler. So a web crawler sees an address and it goes to that address. It's performing a web search. So it's using an API of some sort to pull search results against that query, and it's looking at the results.
Okay, so it's really comes down to kind of use case with this is kind of how I see it, right? Because right now the way we have it is like, it's like, hey, I want you to summarize this article or something, right? And you can give it a link to that, right? And it's going to go right there. So it sounds like this is something where that wouldn't be the use case, but maybe it's something where, hey, you want to search and get some recent results.
You're doing research. You don't necessarily have the sources of information, but you want it to perform a search and see the information that it finds. You want it to sort of do that work for you. Now, again, there is some degree of, let's hope it works, right? Because GPT, in a lot of cases, it started to cite its sources. There is one AI model that I think does this really well. It's called Coral by a company called Cohere, which I'm also working to build into Magi, but it's still kind of in its rough beta phase. This model will, it's trained to by default have web browsing, and it will give you cited sources for everything that it talks about.
That's
And
good.
GPT doesn't always do that. In many cases it will, but it doesn't. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it really depends on your use case and how
Mhm.
much you trust the AI to find.
Well,
the
yeah,
right-
because it does bring up an ethical problem where you're like, if you're unsure if that's factual, you're like, is it a hallucination to just, you know, make something up that it really didn't find? Because you're
Right.
trusting that it did actually go find relevant factual data in its
Right.
search. And if it
One of
didn't,
my
you know, that
favorite
could be a problem.
examples, one of my favorite podcasts is the Vergecast by theverge.com, and they cited an example of how I forget exactly what AI model and when this was done, but it was like they asked the AI model, "How do you melt an egg?" And you can't melt an egg. You can hard boil an egg, but essentially, like what it did is it found search results for how to melt an egg, a completely fictional thing that you can do, and it presented that information as accurate. And so that's the danger in sort of trusting it to find the right information for you. Like, number one, it's known to lie or hallucinate. It's known to make things up. And if it's not citing its sources and you yourself don't really have a great grasp on the concept or the information or the data that you're looking for it to retrieve, there can be a lot of room for mistakes and flat out misinformation. So
Yeah, I would.
I think that Bard is the worst when it comes to that. Bard
Yeah.
will just flat out lie. And then if you try and, like insist that it tells you like accurate information, I'm sorry, I'm just a large language model.
I'm just,
And
yeah, I'm,
it doesn't perform. I did a search today because I was researching the developers conference for OpenAI. And I also wanted some current news that I may not be aware of. So I said, hey, give me some news from November and 2023, blah, blah, blah. And so I clicked on something. I'm like, this doesn't sound right. I looked, it was 2022. And so I went back and I said, I specified 2023. I'm sorry, I'm just a large language model.
it's like, and it's almost like a kind of like a toddler or something where, you know, it's like you ask the toddler something, you're like, you just made that up, buddy. And they're like, well, I'm a toddler, you know, it's like,
Unapologetic
consider
for
the
sure.
source, you know? Yeah. You know, personally, I would have been, I thought you could like blowtorch an egg and that would melt it. So I don't know. So, you know, we'll have to look at that and test.
Yeah, no, it will burn, but it will not melt.
Okay. That will, okay. We're getting technical.
So one of the things that was mentioned with these custom GPTs is that people are going to be able to monetize, and then there's basically the app store of AI, their GPT store. What do you know about that, and what do you foresee as being a really lucrative way for people to get in on this?
Yeah, because I love making personas.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great concept. It's a great idea. I love the revenue share model. I love empowering creators. In fact, this is something I've been thinking about for Magi as well, creating our own internal system where people can create, you know, a repository or a sort of app store marketplace of whether that be prompts or personas, or you know, stuff like that, creative enhancements to help people do what they want. Now, the logistics of this, I don't know how well it will go. And the reason I say this is you guys, I'm sure, have heard of AI PRM. It's a Chrome extension that essentially gives you a library of crowdsourced prompts. Have you guys heard of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't heard good things about it.
No,
I heard
never.
the prompts are not good. Yeah, so we've kind of steered away.
You will not hear good things from most people who have deep knowledge of AI things. For beginners, for those who are sort of like introductory to AI, it can be of a great help. But here's the problem, and it's the problem that most people haven't learned yet. It's over decades and decades of, you know, products and now in our age of Netflix and having so many options that it's mind-boggling. There's a concept called the paradox of choice. And this is I feel like I've said this 1,000 times on a million different podcasts. Math isn't my strong suit today. And it's that the reason AI only really took off in this last year, I mean, we're only about a year into ChatGPT. AI has been around before that, like for years, and
Right.
marketers have known it. They've been using all the popular copywriting
Yeah.
apps. There's like a million different
It's like
clone, copies of
Jasper,
each other.
years
Yeah,
ago. Yeah.
there's a million of them out there. They've been around for a while, but these copywriting apps, the reason they never took off is because they were predicated on templates. Everything is a template. In order to interface with the AI, you have to pick a template, and they sell you on these large libraries. We have 1,000 templates, right? And what happens? It's Netflix, right? You go in there, you're like, I have a thing I need to do, but oh my gosh, look at all these templates. Which one do I pick? Which one is the right one? So you spend about 20
they're
minutes.
they're not ever quite what you wanted.
Right.
There's a
They're based on
compromise that you have to make.
frameworks or somebody else's idea of getting a thing done. And that's what bothered me most. I had to fit my creativity into somebody else's box. And I never liked that. But I also hate having 1,000 choices and having to spend 20 minutes just trying to figure out which one is the right one. And that's why AI never took off, because it was predicated on this old way of thinking that we have to have a template for everything. And at the time, like, we couldn't interface with AI in a conversational manner. It didn't reach that level of sophistication. But when ChatGPT hit the scene, and all of a sudden, all you had to do was just tell it what you want, and it gave it to you, that removed the barrier to entry, right? So we realized, like, okay, the masses took to this quickly and ferociously in a way that is completely unprecedented. Now we need to figure out how to leverage that conversational, that low barrier of entry. And then what are we going to do? We're going to create an app store. Yeah, that's a good idea. Give people 1 million options again, right? Because that's what they want, is they want options. And so I don't know that I don't know how well this will go. And it's why I think the AI PRMs of the world are helpful for a beginner, but unhelpful in the long haul, because they just give you so many options. And then we found, like in the app stores of the past, that these marketplaces can become gamified. If you open up AI PRM,
absolutely.
I'm sorry if there's anybody from AI PRM, I'm not trying to pound on you or anybody who loves it out there. I've been in plenty of trainings of people who love ARPM or teaching people that it's the bee's knees. But again, the problem is that, number one, choices, but number two, they are gamified. The prompts that surface near the top are usually the ones that are voted
the highest
the best.
rated. Right.
They're rated. Somebody gave them the likes, or somebody gave them the reviews, and these are easily gamed, and they're easily, like, the good stuff you hope floats to the surface may not always float to the surface, because somebody figured out how to gamify the system.
I'm going to try to explain this, and if this doesn't make sense and I'm off the rails, just stop me, okay? But I'm a Magic the Gathering player, okay? Magic the Gathering is an extremely complex. The way I explain it is it's like playing chess with, like, I don't even know, hundreds of thousands of pieces. Okay, that's the only way I can explain it. Okay, and it makes me sound like a genius, right? Because now you're like, wait, I thought he was just a nerd. No, I am. I'm a nerd, and I'm playing a Hobbit deck or something. All right, but anyway, Magic, it's like a card game. But essentially, there is a resource for a certain format, and it's called EDHREC. I play a format called EDH, and it'll give you a deck list, right? Because it's pretty daunting to build a 100-card deck list, especially for new players. So it's like, well, hey, I can pick the commander, the card I'm going to pick, and it's the algorithm's going to give me this popularized deck list, right, of all the popular cards that people put in their deck list. And somebody did a really great video on this, and it's a really important concept. And I think this is what's happening with these prompts is people will go on there and they'll make a deck list with the EDHREC, and then that deck list now gets uploaded to EDHREC. And then the next person does it, next person does it. And what happens is some of those cards in there are absolute junk. But it doesn't matter. They keep rising to the top, and they're like in a high percentage of decks because people are going on there and using that list. And so it's actually better to kind of steer away from that. because what's happening is you're getting just these kind of mediocre cards that are getting populated and getting highly rated because people keep using that same tool. And I feel like this is what can happen with some of these AI prompt tools as well, where, well, people are going on there to get the prompt recommendations and they use what's on there, and then that gets highly rated because that's what people are using, but it's not necessarily what's really good. And if you're not good at prompting, you just might not know.
Right. And
so if that didn't make any sense and I went off the rails, please.
No, it makes total sense.
Okay.
In a marketplace where there is no degree of curation or moderation, if anybody can create a thing and put it in this marketplace, it's going to be filled with garbage, lots and lots of garbage. It's going to be filled with lots of duplicates. So everybody's going to create their SEO custom GPT, right? They're going to create their blog post thing. And I've already seen some popping up here and there. Everybody's going to create their own, and there's going to be a lot of identical ones. And so then the question just becomes like, okay, I need to optimize my SEO and I want to custom GPTs. Do I do this one or these 5 other ones that look cool too? Which one do I use? And then you end up, here's what happens, because human behavior, we use one and that doesn't work. We try another one. Maybe the next one will work and we try another. So again, we're wasting all of this time on these things that we think will solve our problem, when really all we had to do from the beginning was just make our own, learn to articulate what we want. And that's something that I really want people to hear whenever I talk about this. Like, these things are cool, but if you don't understand just how to tell the AI what you want, how to articulate your needs, you're just going to be using somebody else's crutch to get what you want. You're still fitting your ideas into somebody else's box to a degree.
And I would say templates may be a good way to dip your toes. Really, the way you get good at communicating with the AI and chatting and learning what works, learning, what to say, what not to say, and the proper instructions is by doing it, is by just using it. It's like, just go talk to the AI, and you'll start to realize, wait, that's not the result I wanted. It did B instead of A. Well, I need to say this to get it. You'll start to figure that out. And it's hard to, I would say it's hard to teach good prompting. It's hard to teach, right? You kind of have to learn it. And then, and I've realized this over the last few months. I'm like, I'm kind of doing things now that it'd be hard for me to actually show somebody to do this, because it's kind of intuitive, because I've been doing it so long, right? Does that feel similar for you guys? Like,
well, all those communications majors in college, suddenly they are going to be in hot demand, because
now it's helping.
You need to know how to communicate, and you need to be able to be effective in your communication and clear and concise and all of these words to build good prompts. And so,
communication, it's key. And so as of now, I've been starting to work with some universities. The University of Notre Dame is one university who has adopted Magi of their Gen AI tool of choice, because it allows them to give it to their students under one subscription and let them access all these models. And they are teaching courses on prompt engineering, how to communicate to these AIs. And I think that's very vital. But again, it always just comes back to, like, it's just good communication is all it is. And that's what John Barron's over at the University of Notre Dame has confirmed. Cool. So I love the universities are teaching this. And I think it's a really exciting time with these custom GPTs. Above all else, what they're showing is the goal is to make it easier and easier to work with these AIs. Prompt engineering will be this is my big if I were to project anything, make any predictions, 2 to 3 years, we will not hear the term prompt engineer anymore.
Exactly.
Because the AIs will have advanced to the point where, and our culture will understand, like, I just need to tell it what I want, and I need to be articulate about it. And these AIs will be much more advanced, and they'll just give it to us with very little prompting.
Kind of like when you mess up your Google search, and it's like, it still kind of knows, oh, did you really mean this? You're like, oh yeah, that's really what I meant. It's like,
thought I'd pop that up there. There's a really good opportunity.
Mark.
Shout out to Mark. But
Awesome.
we actually, all of us really appreciate what you do, because you really, with Magi, you've just, God, simplified my life for sure. And I mean, just so many options with Magi. And it's not just that you can interface with ChatGPT or Claude or any blah, 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 all these. You have this beautiful user interface that, you have the dock on the side that you can, it's so helpful. There's all these little nuances that you don't think you need until you go to ChatGPT and they're not there.
Oh yeah. You single-handedly removed months of frustration for me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because this was like early this year, maybe it was like January, February, and I was like trying to do, I was trying to create persona, I was trying to do all these things, and I was running into the context. I was so frustrated. It was like months of frustration, and I kind of had to put ChatGPT to the side, because I'm like, I'm trying to do these projects, and it can't do what I want it to do yet. And I just kind of chalked it up to, it's not ready to do these things. And then once I got into Magi, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I can actually do these things. Thank you, Dustin. It was so great. It was amazing. So we can't speak enough about this tool. So if you're interested, go to AIadvantageagency.com/MAGAI and check it out.
I figured out why Magi is so good. The thing is you have engineers building ChatGPT and all this, and these developers, but you're a creator. I mean, you obviously are a developer and all that, but at your heart, you're a creative. And so you think that way. And so you think, what will other people need to be more creative with this tool? And you just nailed it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm a creator. I have been writing blog posts and social content and teaching for the last 12 years. And that's exactly what I had in mind. I mean, selfishly, as an entrepreneur, typically what happens is we see a problem that we encounter and we're like, this is annoying. I want to fix the problem that I have. And, the short thought after that is, I wonder if other people have this problem.
Lots of other people have that problem.
Having worked with creators and having a network of creators and consultants and coaches, I know that these other creators are encountering these same problems. And so I was like, I'm going to solve this for all of them. I'm going to make AI more accessible to all of them. I'm going to make it easier to just get everything in one place. And that was it.
Yeah, very cool.
Have we hit all of the highlights of the developers conference?
We talked about the store. We talked about the context window, which is Turbo. And there's some developer stuff. I don't know if we talked about the assistants.
No, and we didn't talk about DALL-E 3.
DALL-E 3.
Talked about custom
also
models.
Important update.
Oh, copyright shield as well.
The training data has been updated to April of this year.
Yeah,
that's huge. It was September of last year, right?
September 2021.
2021 was the first cutoff date.
I thought it was 2022.
Yeah, now it's April 2023 is when its cutoff date was.
Yeah.
That's massive, because so much has happened since then.
Colin, do you remember a little while ago when I was saying that, I don't know, something weird, that ChatGPT keeps telling me the training cutoff date is January of 2023. And I'm like, did they change it? And I'm like, no. And then I went and I asked it straight out, what is your da-da-da-da-da? And it said September 2021. But I wonder now if it wasn't kind of like letting out its little secrets while it was being updated, because it kept telling me January of 2023. And I'm like, that's so weird. And it did it multiple times.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, in all likelihood, it was a hallucination.
Yeah. I thought I was hallucinating.
It really wanted to have that data.
And I wanted it to.
Can we talk about, and I don't know if this is something that's, I heard that this was going to be made available, and this might be just something for developers, but basically it's the ability to train your own AI, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that that's something that is potentially coming. Can we talk a little bit about that? And is that a developer only thing?
I'm not entirely sure. They've had the ability for a while to create sort of custom versions of GPT 3.5. So they had a developer-facing interface through the API where you could create a custom, not just, feed it sort of documents and then it can reference documents, but an actually custom trained on your data version of GPT 3.5. And so what I believe, I haven't dug into this a lot because the use cases here are fairly limited. They are not as broad reaching as the main tools that I tend to focus on. But for enterprise level things, this could be very helpful. But yeah, essentially you are not just front loading the AI with information, you are literally training it around your data. So it comes up with much more accurate things in regards to proprietary information. So as of now, from what I understand, I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it's primarily a developer-facing API endpoint that you can then feed and train the models and have a sort of inside version of GPT 3.5 that I'm aware of, and I don't know if it's a version of 4 Turbo that the assistance taps into. I just haven't looked yet.
Okay. So still then the best probably we can do is, and for most use cases, is going to be the custom GPT. That's pretty much going to handle most things.
Yeah. And in all honesty, I would say 90% of people, that's all they need.
Yeah.
Unless you are the real benefit I see of these assistants and these custom trained models are, let's say you're a software company and you want to build a support bot to help other developers work through some of the issues with your code or your software. That's really where this kind of technology shines the most. For businesses that are maybe training it on its frequently asked questions, or maybe some of its product information, the custom assistant is overkill, like big time overkill. You can handle that much more easily, much faster, and much more flexibly with just a custom GPT. So I think the use cases on this is more enterprise grade, high level developer type stuff anyways.
Okay, cool. What do you think?
Oh, sorry, Colin, go ahead. I was going to say, I would like to just upload the code from the front page of our website and have ChatGPT explain to me why the fonts won't load first. And so I keep getting issues. I'd love for ChatGPT to tell me how to fix that little problem.
Should actually be fairly straightforward. So what you can do in many cases is you can save that page as an HTML file. And as long as code interpreter is active, it will be active in Magi soon, not yet. But inside of ChatGPT Plus, you can upload the HTML file and then ask it that exact question. It can interpret the HTML version of the page, and it should be able to walk you right through. What you're talking about, though, is a common issue. It's flash of unstyled text, I think is the term for
yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yes, it is a common CSS problem in web design development. There are some tricks that I've dealt with it for years, and there's some tricks you can use to speed it up. But
it's so annoying.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to talk about as we're kind of wrapping up 2023 and we've got a whole big new year ahead of us. What do you see kind of on the horizon for AI and for marketers and businesses looking to kind of leverage that to grow?
I think what you're going to see is the adoption I would say the adoption hasn't slowed. The hype has slowed to a degree. I think it's less hype now, and really people are starting to dig into the practical applications. A lot at the beginning seemed to be very more entertainment based use cases of it, creating, talking with celebrities and stuff like that. But I think now businesses are realizing this is something we need to practically implement. How do we practically add this to our business practices or our standard operating procedures? So I think what we'll see in this coming year will be a lot of adoption of custom GPTs or personas. And we'll see a lot of companies leveraging that for their internal processes, for external communications, for content. And I also see probably still going to be a swell of prompt engineering courses and classes and stuff. But I think as we near the end of next year is probably when we'll see a less emphasis on prompt engineering. And I think we'll also see some big advancements from the other companies. These companies, they're going to continue to leapfrog each other over and over, because there are a lot of investor dollars at stake. They have to continually improve their products. So right now, GPT-4 Turbo and DALL-E 3 sort of made the leap. So I think very soon we're going to hear from Midjourney, maybe something new on Midjourney's side. Shout out Midjourney coming to Magi this week.
Nice.
And we will also see Anthropic do a leapfrog, and with the advancement of their AI. I think Coral by Cohere is an AI model to be on the lookout for. I think they're getting close to sort of a mass release, and I think it's just going to be a very exciting time. I don't see it slowing down in terms of advancement in this next year or so. I think there's going to be still a lot of cool stuff happening, and it'll be really great if you have sort of a tool that will give you access to all of them in one place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know of a tool just like that.
I know.
I'd love to hear about it.
Or an agency that can help you build a persona for your brand. That would be somebody you might want to look into.
Absolutely.
Because I think not everyone's gonna have access to it, and to start, and then also they're just not gonna have the experience. So even with the guided tool, there's definitely some tricks that you want to build,
or the desire. Some people just don't feel like
they don't
fiddling around with it. I mean, how much work do we do as an agency that technically they probably could do themselves? They just don't have time or don't want to.
Right.
A lot
of it.
Yeah, when you're running a business, there are a lot of things to do, and it's often very difficult to interrupt current processes and current procedures and insert new behaviors into those. And so I think what you guys are doing is really great, because you need outside eyes in order to implement new things into old procedures.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true.
Very cool. Awesome.
Well, I don't have anything else.
Yeah, Dustin, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, go use the AIs. Go use them. That's always my call to action. Go learn to
use them. Use them in Magi.
Use them in Magi.
Honestly, I mean, I would
say,
there's a trial, right? Can't you just do it like a free trial?
Free trial. You can sign up, give it a try, and then pick a plan that works best for you. It starts at $9 a month. You don't get the image editing and image features for $9 a month. Our next plan up is $29 a month. And depending on the size of your team or how many AI things you need to generate in a month, you can choose the higher plans.
Man, I will tell you, the image, if you're somebody who goes and you're looking for stock images for your blog or your newsletter, just get the AI. I can't tell you how much time it takes you, because it's almost that paradox of choice thing when you're going through stock image. I can't find the perfect stock. You can create the perfect stock image. Okay, I'm telling you. Or
every image on our website was made using Magi and Stable Diffusion XL.
Yep. STXL is usually my preferred, but I'm going to play with Midjourney once we have access to that for sure. But I would say, just go in there, start using it, get comfortable. And then once you realize your output has increased massively, you're going to be way ahead. So, and other people are going to be figuring this out. That's the thing. That's the race. I think the race is going to be, are you doing this? Are your competitors doing this? Who's learning it and implementing it faster? And that's who's going to get ahead next year, would be my prediction. The brands that embrace AI and use it to really streamline their teams and their processes. Very cool.
Agreed.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dustin. It's a pleasure to have you, and
always.
You're becoming a fan favorite. So,
heck yeah!
Thanks for being here.
Well, I love being here. Anytime you guys need me, as long as I have no crisis to solve, I'll be here.
Sounds good. Hopefully no crisis in the future. Thank you so much, Dustin. We'll talk to you again soon.
Bye, Dustin.
See you guys.
Take care. Bye. Awesome. Very cool. Lots to think about, and a lot of exciting things coming up ahead. So
yeah, I'm really excited to see all the new upgrades that are going to be rolling out in Magi. And we do talk Magi. honestly because it is the best option out there. It is
Yeah,
the
I don't
best tool.
to use anything else. It has
No,
everything
me
I
too.
use. I'd say 95%. There might be a couple things I use, but even those tools, I'm not 100% on them. I waffle around a little bit. So yeah,
Agreed.
very cool. All right. Well, thank you, Kim. We will see you guys next week, same time, same place for episode 12. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.